affect all of us.
This chair is broken.
This is Tuesday, May 2nd. Let's see, something I run through real quick. Honor Society shirts, I did hand those out because they're now in. The We the People did win national champions. That was then, this is now. You can download your own copy of the book, the ebook version, also the audiobook version. They are both on there, so make sure you download those. The Outsiders test was handed back, and we took a look at it, and then I'm going to hand it back again coming up. My goal is if you did not do well on it, I'm going to try and give you an opportunity to do well on it, but it's going to require work on your part. I'll talk about that tomorrow or Thursday when I finish that idea. And then here's our bell work, which you had to do in your notebook on the bell work side. Tell me why you agree or disagree with each one of these. For those of you doing the home version, all you really have to do is pause here, write down your bell work, and then you should be good to go. Or you can keep listening and listen to us argue and fight, and then enjoy that fun discussion from there. But technically that's up to you, depending on how much you enjoy in our fun. Back to you guys. For each one of these, I'm going to have you tell me why you agree. Well, I should back up. For this first one, just whether you agree or disagree. So, anyone who uses illegal drugs daily is a bad person. If you agree with that, raise your hand. Disagree. All right. 2, getting revenge will help you feel better about a situation. Agree.
Oh, yeah.
Disagree. All right. 3, there are no bad people. There are only bad choices. Agree. Disagree. All right. 4, I would report my best friend who possessed illegal drugs, no matter what the consequences might be. Agree? Disagree.
What?
No
Y'all
judging.
snitches.
You let them do. What's that kid trying to lose points? 5, good always triumphs over evil in stories. Agreed? Disagreed.
Yeah.
And if you are not in the same boat as everyone else, that's fine. It's called having an opinion. They don't get to control you on any of these, whichever one it might be. Before we get back to the first one. The story we're going to get into, that was then, this is now, it goes a slightly different direction than The Outsiders does. You might have picked up on what direction it's going to end up going. What's the theme of our questions? Drugs.
Evil people.
That's part of the theme that this one gets into. A lot of what this one's going to deal with, though, is more along the lines of what do you do when your best friend starts making choices that you don't agree with? Do you abandon them, or do you stay friends with them? And so the particular bad choice the friend makes, you should be able to figure out where it's going to deal with. But it's not so much about drugs as much as that friend, do you abandon a friend, or do you stick with them? And it doesn't go through and say what's right or wrong. It just shows you what this kid does, and then shows you sort of the ramifications, the side effects of making that particular choice. The first one does deal with one of the characters. And that actually, I changed that one from earlier today too. The idea of if you use illegal drugs let's back up. The show of hands on that one again. I have a follow-up question to it. Anyone who uses illegal drugs daily is a bad person. Raise your hand if you agree. All right. Raise your hand if you disagree. For those of you who disagree, let's say that you found out that I do cocaine every day.
Wouldn't be surprised.
All right. Yeah, I have a lot of energy. Would that affect it? Should it matter?
Yeah, that's your lifestyle. You do what you want to do.
That's my question. For those of you who said anyone who uses illegal drugs daily is a bad person, and you disagree and said does not make a bad person, should it make a difference if you were to find out that I did every day when I went home, if that's what I used to make my life easier? Does that affect the argument?
Yeah. No, because
If it's illegal, you should be able to.
No, but what's the difference between him and anyone else?
That's a good point too.
It's like drinking drugs.
No, what's the difference between me and anyone else? Should it matter if it's me doing it
Because you're
versus...
teaching us stuff. Yeah,
So-
you're gonna be teaching us false. You're supposed to be our You're supposed to be our look up to person.
Yeah,
Role model?
Yeah.
We're going to come back to that.
Like if you
Yes,
do
dear.
that.
Well, I had a pen for you.
That's fine. What am I doing on this? Oh, this kid. Gotcha. Now I'm with you. To there. Hang on. Time out. Yes.
You got 30 seconds.
Yes.
Getting angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure for now. And then, sure for now. Why not?
4, 3, 2, 1.
Should me being a role model make a difference if I'm not doing it here at school? If it's something I do at home, does that make me a bad person if I don't do it before school? I go home at night and that's how I relax. A big bowl of cocaine, my face into it. That's what calms me down. But if it doesn't affect me here, does that still make me a bad person?
No. Yes.
All right. Hang on. By a show of hands, how many of you say that would make me a bad person? How many of you say still does not make me a bad person? All right.
It's the choices you make while you're doing the cocaine.
Choices you make today.
Not doing the illegal drug itself, but the choices you make after you've done that particular drug?
No.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll come back to that one. Savage?
It's a you issue, not an us issue.
All right. And that question has gone different directions depending on the class. The idea of if I'm a role model, or if a teacher is a role model, should it make a difference about whether they do drugs or not? Does that make a difference between a teacher doing it versus any other person who doesn't? Olivia?
Yeah, but that's the thing that like, if like no one knew you did it, then like no one would know you're a bad person because you're not.
It's hard to put it, but the idea that if I don't get caught, if they don't get caught, does it still make you a bad person?
No.
Does it
No.
still not make
You know,
you a
if
bad
you
person?
like someone, no one finds out you're so bad.
So,
And you feel bad.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
are.
you
all right. Grace?
Okay, so like, how come like if a student does cocaine out of school, like they could still get expelled from school, and they're not doing it in
Not
school?
expelled.
Well, they could get in trouble at school.
They can get arrested for it.
Yeah,
I like that.
exactly. So like, still, shoving your face in the bowl.
So you're saying it should be the same thing for teachers?
Yeah. Oh, I have a question.
Jack?
Okay, so let's say you do cocaine and then you go out and do something, and like if you kill someone but you don't get caught, that's still doing something bad. It's not illegal if you don't get caught. If you're representing the school, it is legal. So
Okay.
you're getting a bad reputation on fishes if you actually get caught.
She's gonna go to jail.
Exactly.
Jumping to number 2. The idea of, let's back up. On the getting revenge, by a show of hands, how many of you at some point have participated in getting revenge on somebody?
Yes.
Okay. Now, put your hands down. Keep your hands back up if you don't revenge. If your revenge was on a sibling, only put your hands down.
Wait.
So keep your hands up if you've gotten revenge on someone that was not a sibling.
I'm working on it right now.
So your hand is up if you've gotten revenge on someone who is not related to you.
I'm getting revenge
So
on
what
it
else?
right now.
Alright? Then keep your hand up if this revenge, if you regret the fact you did it.
Yeah.
I know.
Alright? Now put your hands down. If you have done revenge and do not regret it, show me your hands. Interesting.
I'm doing revenge right now.
Now, then back to this
Oh my
one.
gosh.
When I said getting revenge will help you feel better about a situation, how many of you agreed to that? The number 2. How many of you agree getting revenge makes the situation better?
Well, it makes you feel better.
Yeah, it does. Oh, it makes
Then how many of you disagree about making you feel better? Alright. Do you have a thought on revenge?
Yes.
How so?
It makes you feel better, but
It
always comes back. Like the person you get revenge on will come back and get revenge on you. It's an ongoing process until somebody gives up. So, therefore, no and yes. Because it makes you feel better as a person. And it's bad because that person's just going to do it again.
Okay. Savage?
No, because then if I said because then people, if like it's a group of people and like you did it to one person and the group finds out, they'll want revenge on that revenge.
So, I seem to have, there's a lot of cycle about this whole thing.
It is.
That it doesn't
Like a
seem to
chain.
stop. Alright?
It doesn't?
Cooper?
depends on what you're doing to get revenge. Like if someone like
if someone like does something bad to you and it hurts you for a few days, but then you go back and like shank them or something, that's like no, you're not supposed to do that. But it's like you can like throw water balloons at them or something. Like, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Just don't shake them.
Yeah, throw some water.
So, as long as we stay below shank level, we're okay.
As long as
Or
we
do it to
stay
join
below
them right at their head.
Alright.
hurting level, like top-notch hurting level.
Cooper, I'm sorry.
You'll be fine.
Like, it depends on the person, because if they've had, like, past bad experiences where they've had bad choices or inflicted on them, it might depend on how they feel in the future. Like, if they did something to someone.
Great.
Usually, like, if you get revenge on someone, like, and if you, like, get them, like, pretty good, like, they won't do it again, like, to you or, like, anyone else, you know? So, like, sometimes you can be doing your community, like, a good thing, you know?
You're making the world a better place by getting revenge?
Yeah, so they stop doing it.
That is the theory you're presenting?
Well, it depends, like, sometimes.
Then here's
No, I didn't.
another
Yes, she
question
did.
I'll put out
Yes,
there.
she did.
No, I didn't.
How many of you have participated in revenge and had something bad happen from it because of it?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
How many of you will not let that bad thing stop you from doing revenge in the future? And that, see, part of what, because it plays a big role in the book we're getting into, where we talk, I told you that drugs plays a part of it. But another part of it is, of the two friends, one of them gets themselves involved into a revenge cycle, where they and this other group of people keep escalating. And the friend sees it happening, and it becomes that, what do you do? Do you help your friend out, or do you step back? Knowing that if you stay with them, eventually that revenge cycle is going to pull you into it also. Or do you abandon that friend? And it becomes that tough choice. Do you stick with your friend, or do you abandon that friend, knowing that eventually you might very well be pulled into those bad things going on too? Cooper?
What was that book we read? Yeah, about the
Shadow
revenge?
Club?
Yeah, Shadow Club. It's kind of like that, getting revenge on people.
It is. This one goes a bit more severe. You have to pinch the little ears you got up top. Pinch the ears. Pinch the ears.
Jack.
Pinch
Pinch the
Pinch
ears.
those things. Yeah.
Pinch those and push the pencil all the way in. There you go. Now you're good. Savage.
They, like, how Johnny had a fine reputation at first, but when he stabbed him, his reputation just like...
Same idea. Number 3 is one I'm really interested in your thinking on. Spin it. There you got it. With the idea of bad people versus bad choices. Because this seems to be one that started a lot of controversy today. Because at what point do your choices define who you are? At what point do you say, I do bad choices, does that make you a bad person? So once again, by a show of hands, how many of you agree that there are not bad people, only bad choices? Raise your hand if you agree. Alright? Then raise your hand if you say, nope, there are bad people. Interesting. So, those of you, let's go with, at what point do your bad choices make you a bad person? As in, was Johnny a bad person?
No. Wait,
Yeah,
yeah.
at first.
Because he killed somebody,
Yes.
but he also saved all the kids. And before the killing of somebody, he hadn't done anything wrong. Bob didn't kill somebody, but he did beat somebody into a crying fit using big metal rings, but then he gets stabbed. So it's that idea of what makes you a bad person? What bad choices get you there? Carter?
Being like Hitler.
How so? Expand on that. I mean, the killing of people, the hating of people. Because I had kids earlier, and if I used that same thing, and they said Hitler wasn't a bad person. He just made bad choices. And so, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying, expand that thinking beyond just saying Hitler. Richie?
I think honestly Hitler was technically a bad person, but he really wasn't. He had beliefs like everybody else here has beliefs. He had beliefs that people, like some people were evil, like people with, I think it was blonde hair and blue eyes.
We're the good ones, and everyone else was not.
Well then, me.
Correct. You be one.
So would you.
And,
Shut up!
and with Hitler, it's the same thing as with Karis. It's not bad intentions. Hitler didn't have bad intentions. What Hitler wanted to do was, he wanted to make, because Germany had been destroyed by World War I. He said, our country is falling apart. There are people who are holding our country back. We need to make our country stronger. And he said, what we need to do is stop these people holding us back. Then he just started naming the people that he said are holding us back. Get rid of them, our country becomes stronger. He didn't do it because he was trying to be mean. He was doing it to try and save people. It's just how he did it was wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say Hitler's a good person. I'm saying he was coming from a place where he was trying to do good. It's just how he did it was awful.
Yes.
Cayman?
I don't feel that you could be a bad person. Like, that's just being titled. Like, to be titled a bad person, you have to have bad choices. So if I went to go kill someone or did drugs, that's a bad choice. Because you make the decision to do that.
So you're saying you can't be a bad person without bad choices. That bad choices don't make you a bad person?
What?
Yes.
Wait.
Yes, that's what she's saying.
You're saying you cannot become a bad person unless you've at least made bad choices.
Yeah, okay.
But if I make bad choices, does that automatically make me a bad person? Just throwing another thought. Jack?
Okay. So, talking about Hitler, she said he wasn't a bad person. He killed like 16 million people.
He did?
For no reason.
Not for no reason.
He
had
had
a
a
reason.
reason.
Yeah, many reasons.
He said those people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was his beliefs.
I'm not saying it was a good reason, but he had a reason.
Yeah.
His goal was to help.
Oh, and Osama bin Laden.
Same thing. Bin Laden's come up also. He also had good intentions for what he wanted to do.
Kill
His
Americans.
and unfortunately, it was kill Americans because what he's the same reason we're going over and killing people in Afghanistan and Iraq is because we see them as our enemy coming after us. He saw America as an enemy against his country, as the fact that we were going in there and and that we were doing these bad things there, and so he had to stop us. The problem is, he didn't have an army. He says, I don't have an army. I've got 20 angry people. So what can 20 angry people do?
Destroy.
And they come up with the idea of suicide bombers. And so, once again, he wasn't doing it just to hate America. He was doing it to try and save his country. It's just how he did it was wrong.
And those people at the Boston Marathon.
Same thing. A lot of times, they're doing it because they have a good intention. It's just how they do it is wrong. Unless, according to our opinions. Cooper?
Well, what makes you a bad person is what you do, how many times you do it, or if you have a reason or not. I mean, Johnny kind of like beat him to a pulp. And so he killed the guy, but that gives him a reason. And he only did it once, but it was real bad.
Alright. Yeah.
He killed someone once.
Cayman said that she killed someone, yeah, you're definitely a bad person. But if she does drugs, then she's not technically a bad person because celebrities and people like that do bad or do drugs. But do we call them bad people? No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
That's
Not.
good.
Oftentimes, we're going to get back to it. The idea of forgiveness, and what Knowlton brings up is redemption. Can't you do good after you do bad? And does that change things? And the same
It
thing,
depends on your mindset.
Well,
can you do bad after you've done good?
Well,
If I've done 18 years of great teaching, and then I go out and do one bad thing,
no.
does that the opposite of
Your
redemption?
choice. Chill a kid.
Richie?
Today, shake
So I said, no, bad people that make the choice, they make it and do it over and over again. That is a bad person to me. A good person would be the person to do something bad and then remember that that is something bad and I shall never do that again. A bad person would repeat their decision as if a drug addict. A good person would try to quit. A bad person would continue to do it and just not stop.
So you're saying as long as you learn from it,
Yes.
it makes you good.
So it
So,
depends.
Rehab.
Rehab. Like, if you were to kill someone, you would turn yourself in if you were a good person.
get ready to. Savage?
Hitler had a good intention for his country, but a bad intention for the whole world.
Agreed. And sometimes that comes into, America has similar issues, where we try to do things that work best for us, but that doesn't help everybody else. And there's a lot of people who see America as bad and evil because they're not here. We define things by how we see the world through our own viewpoint. And for a lot of people, America is not a good place. But we are America, so we see everything we do as being good. Everyone who followed Hitler They were doing it to try and make their country a better place. It's just we disagree with it now and see the fact that they went too far. Speaking of too far, number 4. If you found out a friend of yours had drugs here at school, this becomes that tough choice. For me, personally, I like that was then better than Outsiders. And we'll talk more about why. Hi, kids who are standing up, even though I haven't dismissed you to see what kind of horrible things I would do to you if I haven't had vests in forever.